We are here for a very special part of our celebration for being an organization of 75 years. And the good thing that I'm feeling today is that we will be talking with and learning from a colleague in South Africa who has been with us for 37 years, since 1987, when we went to South Africa under the sponsorship of the Episcopal Church and Jane Watkins, the former Jane Watkins. Within the organization of NTL, we had a committee called the International Committee that was headed by the late Mary Beth Peters. And she organized a team consisting of Roger Whitwell, myself, Argentine Saunders Craig, and also Don Coverdale. No, Charles Coverdale, yeah. And who was not able to be part of that team because the government of South Africa would not let him in. So the three of us went to South Africa with the cooperation of Dale and Tish White. And they had directed a person by the name of Griffith Zabala to organize a training team using South African associates, people there on that Wilgerswit campus. I'll call it campus, but it was more than that. It was much more than that. It was the heart of the work for change and to bringing about a post-apartheid culture in that country. Well, when we arrived there in 1987, we had community organizers who are willing and ready to be trained in the NTL way of human development, human interaction, trust, conflict resolution, evaluation, and also a plan. And among those who we met, worked with, was Pusetso. And that was in 1987. And I want to read from you the basis of her being here with us today to celebrate is that she has been with us since that time to the point of, in the reading book for human relations training that the former Al Cook and Barbara Gregg, who are no longer with us, but still here and working, are Michael Brazel and myself. We put Pusetso's name into this book that is used in all of our HI labs and our T groups. And I'm going to read you a section of this book so that you know that it is now part of our archives and Pusetso is part of our journey. 20 years after Steve Biko's experience with NTL Group, remember Steve Biko? More than 300 other South Africans experienced a T group also, 20 years. South Africans who had traveled to the United States for training at NTL's Bethel, Maine. Pusetso will tell you about that experience for her, traveling to Bethel, Maine. They came to Bethel and were joined with NTL members who journeyed to South Africa to conduct T Group's human relations training. Now, when the late Mary Beth Peters, Roger Ritvo, and I went in 1987 as a team, as a training team, we conducted tea groups with South African colleagues, Griffith Zabala, who was director of the Ubuntu program, Zulani, Dudu, Duncan, Ivan, Saddam, Tish, and Dale White, Pusetso, Mablane, in the very same places that Steve Biko had sat and walked and reflected. Pusetso is here today to take us on her learning journey and her active actions in the community. And she's going to start with the first experience of being part of that training group in 1987. And then she's going to take us through to 1995, when Mandela was freed from prison and the jubilation there. And she's going to connect with Mette. Mette's going to meet her after 1995, and she's going to connect with Anastasia, who were parent with the daughter of Dale and Tish White, on whose grounds Wilgespret was kept. And then she's going to travel from that point, letting us know of her learning and her action in the community, carrying the light of NTL with her whenever she brought 2 or 3 people together in the community there in South Africa. It is my pleasure and my love to bring to you Pusetso to share her learning journey, her NTL learning journey since 1987. Welcome, Pusetso.
If we will unmute, please. Pusetso, did we change the order just a little bit, or are you there? Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you.
and we can see
Can
you.
you see me?
I see you.
I see you.
Wow. I'm flattered to hear the introduction and just how it has been from the time when we met. Because in earnest, this whole week, I think because of what is happening right now, I am in the 80s and in the 90s in thinking. And I think at some stage when I was talking to Anastasia, I had really forgotten the things in the now. I am in the old. And I'm mentioning this because when we're in Wilgespret, actually, the education, the modus operandi of Wilgespret was more building, expressing humanity. But you see the difference of the then and being taken out of that to NTL is 2 different things. In this way, here in South Africa, we had to fight to say what we believe in. We had to hide some of our feelings. We had to push in the dark, like at night. And when we get to NTL, the spirit which I found there was the same. And because where I come from, we as children, right from beginning, we knew that overseas people are just, I thought maybe you have 7 eyes and what, because you were just fabulous and people who were never seen, even America itself was just a place we had never seen. So when I reach there, I find people who are like us. I find there is soil, there are trees and what have you. And added to that, in Bethel, Maine, when we get there, they said, you mustn't mind, you mustn't be afraid when you see a bear in the street. A bear? No, you know. So what I'm putting across to you at this juncture is, I found a home. I found a reality. I found a freedom. It's like I was waiting to exhale. I was relating a story which I think you don't mind to repeat it, that I had carried a baggage and I wasn't aware that I really still had such a big baggage. And where I came from, I began to understand just how heavy it has been and how heavy we have to work, some of us, in order to remove or take out or pull out the roots of this fear, uncertainty, doubt, not being loved. I got that when I was introduced, when we were introduced, we were telling people about where we come from, not as individuals. People were being introduced by areas or by towns or by places where they come from. Then the irony and the discovery of my heavy feeling inside came at this moment. These people who were with us wanted me to come with all their heart. That is why I went there. But when Mary Beth Peters forgot to mention me as South Africa, I don't know what happened. I can never put it in words, but something inside me, I became so hot, so swelling, so angry. I said, don't forget me. I'm from South Africa. I never forget that moment, because that is the aha feeling, realization, which has carried me to date. I knew then just how angry, that's how affected I have been. And so I really applaud the education I got from NTL, because I still use it today. But that moment, I don't think I'm able to put it in words, or you will understand what I'm really saying. That is the moment for me when it was like taking out a stone or a bitter stone and throwing it away forever. I never even looked whether it fell in the sea or what, but out came this human being, which you see now. And I'm forever grateful for that moment. Thank you, NTL. Now, when I came into the learnings of basic human relation, I had already experienced it. And so when I stand in front of people from that date to now, I'm talking more about myself, but wanting people to come inside me and read what is inside me at this juncture, and read that to be where we were doesn't build you, doesn't help you, doesn't make you to grow. The window, Johari's window, is my song, is my bedroom, is my kitchen, everywhere I go. I remember in Krugersdorp, which is the town next to me, I heard small boys, young people, they didn't know, but they said, "Ma, sorry, we have forgotten your name, but you are Johari's window." Because that's what I teach. That's what I preach. I believe for as long as you don't understand yourself, there are emotions inside you. There are many things inside you which you will never understand and will never make you to move forward. So in every group which I meet, whether they're going to be learning about the Bible or they're in parliament, what have you, that is the base. You cannot pull people, you cannot rule people, you cannot lead people if you don't understand yourself first. That is my modus operandi. I like that, and I'm happy and I'm proud that that is the key to life. In my work, I've been able to work, to facilitate, to teach people from all walks of life. The very first group of women, when we got freedom and women were chosen to be in parliament, the base of them knowing what parliament is all about, because we didn't know, we just saw a building. We didn't know what was a vote. When we were being taught voting, when people came into the parliament, we were people who were teaching them, leading them to know what it is. But the first base of that was for them to understand themselves as human beings, what you like, what you don't like, how you communicate with people, how you see yourself, how you portray yourself. So that is the government I'm talking about. In church, it was domestic workers whom we taught. It was their employers whom we also taught that you are human beings, because here you find white people are the ones who are employers, blacks are the ones who are working. These women together and together in the same house in one way or the other. One is owning the house, one is cleaning the house, but they don't know one another. They don't respect one another. They don't know the backgrounds of one another for years on end. And these people let other people bring up their children, but they don't understand them. They don't even know where they come from. And as a result, We had cases of people who would just disappear from your house. And because you never followed where this person stays, some take things and gone. You can't trace them. You don't know them. So we made them to build a relationship, to know one another, to respect one another. That's basic human relations. But I must say, it is not easy to influence people into that. The hardest thing, I think, it's a person inside you. It is not easy to accept what you see inside, and therefore you become defensive when people stand there and talk or want to show you some of the things which you have. It's not easy to accept, especially the negative things. But I am thankful that I have been grilled by NTL. I have been shown by NTL that you don't hurry to change anybody. You don't even go there to say, I'm going to change you. But you portray the self in you, you talk, you let people talk back, you free people, and that's how people grow. One of the things I now doing very much, and I like, and it's still the base of basic human relations, it's counseling couples. Marriages, most of the time, are broken because people do not communicate, because they've never been taught to communicate. So those are some of the things which I uphold, which I believe in, which I practice. And also that every morning in my life, I've put it as a practice to look outside and just be grateful, to see and breathe. And therefore to take that education and put it into other people, to say, what do you become happy when you are going to be slanting people? How do you feel when you wake up and you know that somebody is going to say good morning? And it's not just good morning, it's the face, it's the voice, it's the eyes. It's me with my hands and what have you, saying hello. And you are touching people inside. I have taught, I have read, I now believe in giving positive energies to people. And that also minimizes the gender-based violence which we see. Because if people begin to communicate with one another and understand the pros and cons of one another, they live together and not fight to kill, but fight because it is enriching your relationship. To fight and fight the good fight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's where I come from. So I'm really grateful and sometimes sorry that the Dales and many other people who have passed away, the Mary Beths, are not here to hear and see and witness what we have learned from them. I'm really grateful to Joseph Luft I honor him. And we did exchange notes even after. He did send me some books. That is the relationship I've had with NTL. And that is why, because it is a topic very close to my heart, if not inside my heart, I will forever be thankful to NTL.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Can I just ask us if we just take a moment and take all of this day in, take what we've just heard, take the understanding of healing. Let's just for a minute, let's just pause. We have been around the world with our work. We clearly live in a social justice frame and have lived there for a while. So let's just take a internal reflection moment. That's one thing we haven't done in these last 2 days. Anastasia?
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you for that moment of just kind of absorbing the energy in this space. I'm Anastasia. As Argentine said, I'm the daughter of Dale and Tish White, who ran the Volgespreid Fellowship Center that Pusetso is talking about, and which had the relationship with NTL. I see so many people on this call that I know your names and I've met you, and it just feels so wonderful to be in this space together. And I think I really loved what was said. I think, Michael, you said this in the previous session. You said this is so wonderful to see the next generation kind of living into this work. And I maybe want to start with that and say, I think this is generational work. And each generation has to grapple with the context that we find ourselves in, and figure out ways to position all the wisdom that is coming through us and the foundations that we stand on. And I think at Volgespreid, Argentine, the relationship has been a little longer than that. It's actually been 52 years of a relationship with NTL. It started in the 70s. And I think that generation of the late 60s, early 70s, before the 80s started, that generation was really in South Africa, using the human interaction labs and the knowledge of NTL to grapple with this question of the Black consciousness movement. And we heard you talk about Argentine, how Steve Biko, which was the leader in South Africa of that Black consciousness movement, went through a tea group and actually came out of that with his great, I would say, a great awareness or a great awakening that started a whole movement in South Africa. And then in the 80s, which is, and Pusetso was part of that in the 70s, actually. She was one of the first people trained in the tea group methodology. And Pusetso has known me since I was 2 years old. So I can't say much in front of her without her knowing whether it's true or not. So. And then in the 80s, I think in South Africa, the context was a context of really, we were in the armed struggle moment in South Africa. So there was a whole generation of young people rising up. The liberation movements were making the country ungovernable, but there was also a lot of violence and trauma in the society because of that. And so really in the 80s, the work was around creating solidarity, healing trauma, and building a generation of leadership. It was a time when there were a lot of arrests, exiles, people were put in prison, tortured. And so the strategy that Volkswagen and NTL came up with was with the strategy of creating capacity, so new levels of leadership that could just step in. And so really that Ubuntu Social Development Institute was a 6-month training program that started with 2 weeks of a T-Lab, or what we call Human Interaction Lab. And I think that was what that generation was grappling with. And then in the 1990s, as we'll talk a little and Mette will speak after me, we came through our first democratic election. And I think that generation used the human interaction training or the human relations training to grapple with imagining this possibility of the reality of a new South Africa and a new social order. Because there's a difference between fighting for something and actually living into it, building it, and having it come together. And there are many questions around, again, healing. I think, Kathy, that's really the key word for me, is that a lot of NTL's work has been creating spaces and opportunities and processes for people to heal. And as Pusetso says, not just as individuals, but heal in our relationships to one another. And how that begins with really understanding and embracing that rock that lives inside me, that bitterness, and how do I release that? And the kind of community that needs to be around you, and the trust that was spoken about in the previous session. The trust that needs to be there in order for us to be in our deepest moments of vulnerability with one another. And so I just celebrate NTL. I celebrate you as a gift to the world, and the huge impact that you've had, particularly in our society. And names that were mentioned of people that have gone through NTL won't make sense to others necessarily, but people, the 380, 400 people that went through the USD program in the 80s are in all layers of our society doing that work. And we have a WhatsApp group. My mom passed away in December, and it created an opportunity for a WhatsApp group of all the old staff. And so we posted that Pusetso was talking tonight, and there's a lot of excitement and buzz. Griffith Sabala, Sipho Masamola, Sipho Mashanini, Duncan, Ivan, the people that you mentioned in that book are all rooting, and I have a candle lit behind me as a symbol of their presence in our meeting here. And I think that the great kind of coming together or confluence of things, particularly in our work here in South Africa, and I think that'll lead us into kind of the work that Mette and Pusetso and I did in the 90s, was the bringing together of appreciative inquiry and T-group methodologies, and finding how to create a confluence of those two energies in order to hold a very particular space. And so I just thank Jane Watkins, a great mentor and teacher of mine, and a great friend, for bringing that to us in South Africa and connecting us with that. And in that process, connecting me with Mette. And so Mette, maybe I can just give you a moment. I know we're running out of time, but just a moment to talk a little bit about some of the confluence of that work and in our context, grappling with it in our generation.
We have a little time. Go ahead, Mette.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Anastasia, and thanks, Pusetso. I mean, for me, it's just been a great honor to be involved in this work. And I got involved, I worked closely with Jane Watkins with Appreciative Inquiry in the UK. And she wanted, together with Anastasia, to start training Appreciative Inquiry Foundations workshops in South Africa. And in that process, who do you invite to these workshops? And quite clearly, the old guard came up, and Pusetso was on top of that list. So one of the very first appreciative inquiry open workshops we did in South Africa, Jane, Anastasia, and myself, we were looking at people who could become trainers. So the very first workshop was really a training of trainers, and Pusetso, Anastasia, and lots of other people were part of that group. And we ran those workshops for a number of years. Jane and I went to South Africa. I later went to South Africa. Anastasia came and trained with me in the UK as well. And at that time, Jane had developed a whole track of appreciative inquiry labs. And one was the appreciative inquiry human interaction lab, which Pusetso and I trained together. And thinking back on that, I don't think there's any way that I, as a foreign white woman, could have come into South Africa and do that work without having Pusetso's solid backing in that group. And it was amazing work. And there were dimensions to this work that I haven't seen in groups in the US or in Europe for that matter. So I think the NTL has grounded something at Jacobsgaard that we were able to carry on. So it was just a great privilege for me to be part of that. And that's really all I want to say. Thank you.
Ma Pusetso, do you want to have the last word on this thread?
Okay. I want to share with the group that one pleasing moment for me these days, these years, when I'm becoming even younger and younger in age, it's to give all what I have learned to the younger generation. And mostly to say, when you have reached a particular place, don't forget where you come from. Pull others along. And when you pull them with love and with compassion and with a dream inside, you want them to go somewhere, to reach out, to bring out of themselves what they have inside. So that's what I really want to share, that I am enjoying to be now a complete trainer of trainers, to leave a legacy, to give what I was also given, to give it freely and to give it with all my energy, with all my love, with all my concern, my drive. I love Johari's window. I really must say to you, I live it, I breathe it, I sleep it. Because every time I do it, I find new Pusetso. And this new Pusetso, I love this new Pusetso. So if you don't love yourself, begin to practice what I'm saying, because I got it from older people who had also passed through. I love you. Thank you.
Not quite, Ma Pusetso.
Okay.
Not quite.
All
You
right.
know what's next, right?
Now, what do I owe you?
You promised me a song.
Or two others.
You promised me a song.
This song is all about Johari's window. That's how much I really believe in Johari's window. I picked up this song, and unfortunately, honestly speaking, the author is unknown. The producer is unknown. But I think this person must have been sent by the universe that there's going to be a woman who's going to pick it up. It talks about the complete window, that you have to be open to people in order to discover yourself. And at the same time, it's saying, when you don't open the pages yourself, you will remain where you are. But when you let other people tell you, whether you become angry or not, and it is okay to be angry, but look back and say, is it true or not? I was born to be me, not a copy of you. Be you parent or teacher or friend. Be you husband or wife. I was given this life, and it's mine to create till the end. Too many people have tried to diminish my pride, but claiming all pride is a sin. But the fact of my worth was established at birth, at the time I was born to be me. You want the second verse? Do you want the second verse? It talks about feedback.
Look at them. Seriously.
Okay. And then the feedback says, I was born to be me, but I've learned in a lifetime I never can make it alone. Far too much of myself needs the giving of others, the parts I can see till I'm shown. So come and touch me inside, take the measure of my pride, set me free from whatever's unreal. For this life to be led, and I've barely begun to insist I was born to be me.
Oh.
Oh, Kase Sikalele.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Argentina, we're going to open up now for questions and answers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
comments, questions that you pose to Pusetso, or to what she's experienced? Has she shared her experience with us? I see Sam, our emeritus member, NTL.
Well, I have a gift for you, Pusetso.
Ah, okay.
In 1967, NTL published a pamphlet that I had written, and it's titled The Interpersonal Process of Self-Disclosure. It takes two to see one, and it's all about your favorite Johari window.
oh,
I will send it to you as quickly as I get your email. Also, I knew both Harry Ingham and Joe Luft. Worked with Harry a bit. I just to send it. I want to proxy send you his regards.
Well, Sam,
Received.
will you share that article with us as a resource for the Jubilee? Is there a way? Oh, we would.
I just don't know where to send it.
We'll work that out. We'll work that out.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Pusetso, you hear that? You have a gift from Sam regarding your Johara window. You're on mute. Can I unmute you?
No, they got it.
Can you now hear me?
Yes.
I'm saying I'm beyond excitement. I am thrilled. And
Right.
whilst I'm being given the platform, Argentine, I want to thank you. I want to thank you. I want to thank you very much.
I feel thanked.
Because I really never thought what I was doing was so outstanding that it made me an outstanding individual. And I'm thankful that you have dug inside me and you've taken out what was closed inside and brought it to life. I feel like a flower in the morning with a dew.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. It was always there, Pusetso. It just had to have the right environment. Yeah. Dave?
Rich soil.
Yeah. I
No,
see
I
to
just
make
want
a
to
comment. Dave?
thank you. I want to say that I believe now that we have an anthem for our future 75 years. I think we've got to see if we can get those words transcribed, and or certainly we have a recording of it being sung. But I was thinking about it as I was listening to it, and I felt like I would jump out my chair and say, "Let's start this whole career over again." You know, it was just, and that whole notion about no one can say who I am except myself. I thought that was beautiful. So we have an anthem.
A gift from Pusetso. All right.
That's right. A gift to us.
And I also see Matt, you have something to contribute here in this conversation.
Can unmute Matt.
Unmute yourself, Matt.
He's not muted.
No, it's on his side.
Oh, okay. No, okay. There you are, Matt.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Yeah, there's something in your transmission, Matt.
There's a corruption in your sound drivers, Matt. Your audio is on, but it's not broadcasting through.
Oh.
We've had that problem with a couple of people today, Jason. Not on our side, but on their side. We've been getting conversations in the background about audio not working. Not our side, but their side.
Okay. Well, while Matt is trying to get that audio, can we have someone else who wants to make a comment to Pusetso? Can that not happen? I don't see any other hands.
I don't either, Argentina.
Well, let's add attention to Anastasia and Mette, because they are definitely moving that torch along, and they're doing it globally. And in times unlike even the worst of perhaps some of the times we've lived through.
Very, very good, Dave.
And I'm really excited to hear how they're regenerating. I think that's the right word. The life force of NTL in whatever they label it.
Yeah.
Seems to me, after 2 days of wonderful conversation here, that what comes through to me is I am, big AM. And even though I'm one person in this entire world, I can make a difference. I can matter.
Yes.
If not, in my neighborhood, and look at us, all of us.
Mm.
Somehow or another, we're mattering. And I think it's a good way to finish up on our gift. So
Yeah.
thank you both, Mette and Anastasia.
Okay. Are Anastasia and Mette, are you still connected with us?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay. All
I didn't
right,
drive you
good.
away.
David will take more than that kind of love.
There you go. There you go.
Can I try again?
Membership. Any
Hey,
Matt?
Matt.
Yeah, we got
Matt's
you.
back.
Is that
All
better?
right.
Good.
Matt's back. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, right on time.
Just Pusetso, just how deeply touched I was by your singing, and reminding me of days when singing was part of our lives at Bethel, when we were up at the Founder's House and having community sessions and cross lab experiences, and we don't do enough of that music in our work anymore.
The arts.
How much I loved the song that you sang. Mette, Anastasia, so good to hear from both of you, and thank you for bringing Jane into this story. She was a persistent and fierce advocate for appreciative inquiry. She continued to offer labs to members and wouldn't take any money for them. And she was an inspiration. And so it was just wonderful that you brought her into this conversation. And glad to see what's going on at Wilkes-Bright as well. Thank you.
Okay, Matt, thank you. Anyone else to have comments to either Anastasia or Mette or Pusetso? Time.
I think, Pusetso, you're always a hard act to follow, and you've done it here again. I always make sure I try never to speak after Pusetso, because she just sets the bar so high, and it's so beautiful. I think just maybe from my side to say how much I appreciate the opportunity to come here and just recognize the 52-year relationship between Wilkes-Bright and NTL, and just like energies in a world that really needs that. And as I look around the call, I'm also loving to see the different generations. As I said, I see many people that are from my parents' generation, and then my generation, and the ones that are coming after me. So this is just a wonderful opportunity in a world that really needs hope, that's seeking possibility, for us just to reconnect to this energy on an individual level and have it radiate out into whatever our circumstance is, whatever our context is, whatever the grappling that we need to do in our various places. And so deep gratitude for allowing us to be a part of this space and to drink from this well. So well done, NTL.
Anastasia, when I saw you first, I guess you were not even a teenager. Maybe you were a teenager, but you had long dark hair and you were running around skinny. And now I look at you with your beautiful hair. You're looking just like your mother, I'm telling you. Just like your mother, my God. And that's been, a few years since you were running around the Wilkes-Bright with your long braids.
Yeah, just like 10 years or so.
But good to see you and to hear the good work you're continuing to do and still connecting with NTL. And it's good work. Yes. And pleased to have you here to help us celebrate our 75 years of personal development and change, developing organizations.
Yes.
All right, Kathy, I think we are bringing to a close that section of our celebration.
We are.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm,
And thank you,
yeah.
my Pusetso, for honoring my request. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. And look what it did. It's given us an anthem. We're going to transcribe the music. We got a gift for us and personally for you. Isn't that, I mean, look at how
It grew.
that grew. It just was.
Yeah.
Yes, I
That's what
appreciate you
happens.
so much.
Yeah.
We have a few more minutes of our time together. I'd like to, oh, I'm sorry, Kathy, go ahead. I see you. Unmute.
Mhm.
Kathy Lip, okay, there you
Yes,
go.
yes. And I just wanted to recognize Anastasia for her work with the board. She helped us with team building on our board. And so she was so kind and helped us. And I just wanted to recognize her for that. It was a great contribution to our board. So she's been active with us and using her professional skills. So much appreciated.
Okay.
Through the NTL training, I'm sure. Mhm.
Ma Pusetso,
Mhm.
you have to unmute. It'll just take 20 seconds.
Mette?
There you go.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Mette. I want to thank Mette,
Mette?
yes, for the work she had done. And I want to say to her, she's got a very soft leadership style. I'm loud, and she was, yes, I am loud. And she was soft. And therefore, I learned a great deal from her. From you, Mette, I learned a great deal that your voice can be soft, but your points will reach the people. So I want to thank that I know you, that I met you. And I want to thank the people I have met recently through the virtual, which I really don't care for, but it's the in thing. And on the other hand, the technology which I abhorred a great deal, I've come to acknowledge it, that had it not been technology, with the 2-3 years of COVID, where would we be? And so I've changed a little bit towards technology. Thank you, people who introduced technology and who are using technology, because we can still talk even if we're in mask or we were not meeting physically, because I believe in touching you physically.
Yeah.
But now I know that there is touching also, not being with a person. And also that I have seen how much we have connected with one another through technology. Had it not been, everything has a positive and a negative. No one likes the disease which is spread all over the world. But at the same time, that very disease made us to be together, to love one another, to think about one another, to cooperate, to pray with one another. So,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, NTL.
Thank you.
I'd like to, you're right, Anastasia. She's a hard act to follow.